there.
Tore a wing or ear off.
He killed the owl.
Now it's pocket-sized toy.
Hi everyone, my name is Faustine and I am here at the California Breakfast Burritos headquarters in Ridgecrest, California. California Breakfast Burrito, they are a nonprofit corporation as well as a charitable trust. They have beautiful donkeys and today it is raining, so we are all sheltered here. And it doesn't rain a lot in Ridgecrest, so I might have brought the rain from Seattle. I hope not. But look, I got these cute donkey earrings. California Breakfast Burrito, they really focus on educating donkeys as well as people, giving the donkeys a purposeful life. I met the owners in Colorado during the Leadville Brewer Race. That's what they specialize. Well, I wouldn't say they specialize because they do lots of different activities, but their sweet spot is trail running with burros. A lot of these burros are adopted directly from the Bureau of Land Management facilities. And we're gonna go inside and talk to the owners, Karin and John, and just hear a little bit more about their stories around donkeys and what it is that they do. Let's go.
We both have spent most of our lives with animals, lots of dogs and horses and mules for many years. But about 8 years ago, we got interested in donkeys. We live in a community that has a big history with donkeys or burros. They're wild nearby, and they were in this valley. The Bureau of Land Management has a big facility that gathers them and processes them locally for adoptions. Just knowing the other equines, we wanted to learn more about burros. And then we had friends who kept pushing us in that direction. We had one who's a ultra runner who's for many years gone to Colorado and Leadville and watched the donkey races. He was there for the other long distance races. And he kept sending us articles and things about pack burro racing. And we had another friend who worked at the adoption office at BLM, would push us to get a burro. And
he surrendered.
Yeah, eventually we did. We joked that we wanted a donkey and
you can't just have
one.
Yes. So, well, it was A, and then it became 8.
And now it's anywhere between 12 and 20 that are out in the yard at any time. They're like potato chips,
So just one.
Or cookies.
But they're also like jalapenos.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. Or chocolate. Forrest Gump would have said chocolate.
Yeah.
You never know what you're going to get.
And, they really are special. You get to learn about them and understand them. And we've found, Karin kind of has a great role. She understands the wild ones and trains them really well.
Well,
she doesn't
good at finding them. Sorry.
Yeah.
I have good picks. Yeah.
Yeah.
We went hunting, and Karin is the one who found all of them. John thought he found one.
It was a bush with long ears.
But I think that's part of it. Is she doesn't think it's a special talent, but it really is understanding how they think and just being empathic with them. And donkeys get misunderstood. People think they're stubborn because they don't do what the person expected, but it's just a lot of us have the wrong expectations. If a donkey stops or won't do something, he has a reason. He's either trying to figure it out, or they're uncomfortable, or there's a reason they stop and don't go or don't do what you want.
Yeah.
And if you can understand it, you can work through it and solve the problem.
I feel like it's difficult because we're so used to having what we want so quickly.
Yes.
And I feel like with donkeys, they really re-question all of that.
Right.
We always say when we're gentle any donkey or work with any donkey, we're on donkey time.
We're on donkey time.
Yes,
I'll make
because
a plan, we're going to do something this day, but it's just a plan.
it's usually on donkey time.
Yeah.
So if you think you will need an hour, you better have an hour and a half or 2 hours, and you might get it done in 10 minutes.
Or you might not get it done at all.
Oh,
It might happen too, but you need to they always require a very open mind, and receptive to them more than expecting. Like when we do something with dogs, we usually expect them to be receptive to our necessities and our requirements. And with donkeys, it's the opposite. If you want to gentle a wild donkey or any donkey, you need to be receptive to their necessities and to their predisposition, either because of their past as wild animals or their past as domestic animals under completely different circumstances. So you're on donkey time.
We're on donkey time.
yeah, and we just need to be good listeners and understand what they're thinking and telling us.
The cues.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And usually when you work with a donkey, you can get it done quickly. But how solid will that training be? You get a lot more solid training when you do it slowly and with their time.
Yeah, and something I noticed with John and you guys are really big on habits, right? And having that sense of
Routines.
routines.
Yes.
Yeah.
They feel comfortable when they can predict what is going to happen or what you are going to ask from them. Just like any wild animal that is a prey animal doesn't like surprises. And yes, so the more routines you have, the less risk of surprises you have. And they are, at the end, because they were wild, most of ours at least, they can be reactive. And it's not because they're mean or they're dumb. It's because their instincts are so strong, and their self-preservation instinct particularly, that you have to take that in account when you...
And a lot of people don't.
Unfortunately, no, and that's how they got the reputation that they're stubborn, they're dumb, and ass became an insult because of the misunderstanding of the animal. No, you used to call it an ass and it was perfectly acceptable, and it became right now, she said a bad word. No, it's not. So I think that's probably one of our most important missions, is to educate people about that donkeys aren't their reputation.
Yeah, donkey, we need probably more education than really the donkeys.
I think
Yeah.
so. They need opportunities. We need education.
There you go.
Yeah.
I like that. They need opportunities.
Right.
We need education.
We do a little bit of training donkeys, but we do a lot more training people and teaching people.
Yes.
So, we originally thought our mission was more to go help individual animals, but we do a lot more by bringing donkeys to events and helping people understand them, having visits here at our place so they can meet a bunch of donkeys. And if people understand them, they'll have success relating to them.
Oh, well, a lot of people approach us with the question, are they dangerous? Are they trying to kick me? And that is one of the things that are definitely misunderstood about the animal. You need to give them a reason to be aggressive or to react to you, to hurt you, when we have people over here or when we go to places, we often encounter so much caution because of their reputation. Again, they can kick you to death. Yes, they can. But why would you provoke it? Generally said, they are very safe. They want to please humans. They want to be around you. They want you to be happy. They love happy people. They love children.
And historically, I think they're more on the opposite end of being abused than the abusers.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
And so that's something that...
And even then, the humans who abuse them generally survive.
Yeah.
You know,
Exactly.
we haven't seen severely abused animals, luckily, because that would break our heart. But we have seen some neglect in certain animals, and a lot of them handled inappropriately, handled wrongly, because people are ignorant about what their needs are. You know, we have had donkeys getting fed alfalfa because they heard that's good.
Grain and alfalfa.
Grain and alfalfa. And if you're around donkeys or if you're in our environment, you know that's not the right diet. You can't feed a dog bread all its life. You know. There you go. His, his opinion is very clear. You don't react to
And other
him.
things. We've seen a lot of donkeys that, are very wary about their feet or their ears because of the way they've been, twitched and handled by their ears or had bad experiences. And that's just people not taking a little bit of extra time to teach them the first few times or being impatient.
Or handling enough too.
Yeah. And they're also not horses. We get a lot of people who expect them to behave like a horse.
Like horses, yeah.
Yeah. I like my analogy that donkeys are to horses what cats are to dogs. That we usually think, oh yeah, I can train dogs, I can train cats. And anyone who knows both knows that that's not true. And you can train a donkey with the methods you use for horses, but it's not as ideal as having the right approach.
Having the right approach, yeah. So I know, and I'm not really entirely sure, but I know that, well, per my understanding, and I don't know, but when we went hunting for the donkeys, which was so awesome, they didn't run.
No.
I feel like if it were horses,
They would have
Yes.
left.
they would have been more in their flight instinct.
Yes, well, there's several reasons why that is so different with donkeys. I assume that's where you were going. I didn't mean to interrupt. So donkeys are very energy efficient, and they don't waste it with panicking. And they are a lot smarter. So when a donkey sees a potential threat,
Me.
usually a human or an animal or a car, but if they see a potential threat, they watch it and they analyze it, and they will think if it is worth running away, which a horse just runs off, and a horse runs fast. Donkeys aren't that fast. So they need to think about what the best reaction is with the least energy waste of energy, and the most efficient. That's why they're so successful. So what a donkey will do, it will look at the supposed threat and either freeze, maybe he didn't see me, and then he's safe. And if it gets too dangerous, they back off and keep a certain distance where they know I can still run away. So they don't let you get too close. And the other one is, how big is it? Can I kill it before it kills me? So they will attack.
And that's the positioning we saw when
With a jackass.
with the jackass. He came and he was like,
He confronted you a little bit.
It was just like, stop right there.
and he's like, you are beatable.
He made his message clear.
Yes. And they snort once, and if you back off, you're fine. He won't chase you. He's not a lion. He doesn't eat humans. And we have seen it when we go in that area where we were. There's wild horses, wild donkeys, and wild mules. And usually when we see the horses and they see us, they run away and they're gone. The donkeys will constantly keep the same distance from us, regardless in which direction we go. So if we're going in the same direction the donkeys are going, they will keep the same distance at our pace. So they will not run away because they know there's no way these humans can get up here as fast as we can get away. So it's just because of their environment. The mountains are harder to run away from.
Yeah, so why stress about it?
Yes.
Right.
Why waste all the energy?
Yes. Which in my opinion makes them a lot smarter than horses.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's other things too. I know, from my understanding, even sometimes for therapy, I have a feeling, or what I've heard, is that donkeys can sometimes be better. And I'm sure it depends on the people as well and who's the therapy for. But I think their just ability to bond can be deeper.
I think so. I think they have a bigger bond. They're very empathic. They understand what we're feeling, I think, a lot more than what I've seen with my horses anyway. The horse is your buddy and your friend, and they'll do everything for you. But the donkey wants to give you a lot of emotional support. The hugging and touching that they like is different than just the grooming type that I see in horses.
Yeah, I've never had a horse hug me.
Yeah, they'll groom you and
Well,
enjoy
you
being.
can have very sensitive horses, but it's not as often as it is with donkeys, I think. We both have been around horses, donkeys, and mules a lot, and definitely we had never had the experiences we had with our donkeys, we had never had before with any other animal. Even dogs, and I think the difference there is that a dog is your buddy, and he lives with you. You share your most intimate area with them. So it's a very different relationship with the donkeys that are outside. But also, a donkey doesn't depend on you like a dog does. And a donkey can kill you and chooses not to. Where a dog, most likely, it's a very different relationship that you have. But when a donkey bonds with you, it's just you can feel their soul when you hug them. That's what I always say with my tita. When I hug her, I can feel her soul. And might sound ridiculous for a lot of people, but I really feel that. And I am sure that she senses that. I don't know if she feels the same, and it doesn't matter. She definitely senses that from me. And that relationship I had never had before with any animal. Yes, and it is, and she was the longest wild from our animals. She was 8 years wild when BLM gathered her, and it was just like love at first sight. That exists. That you think, I don't know, this craziest lady. Yeah, I'm the crazy donkey lady. It exists.
That's beautiful. Yeah, it was really great to see them in their natural habitat. And it is kind of controversial what is happening to them.
Yes.
In these, in a lot of different parts of the world, but let's just focus on the Bureau of Land Management land.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, even the Park Service and Forest Service and some state lands, they're managed deliberately for different reasons. Bureau of Land Management is very much a land use agency, and they want to maximize mining and recreation and grazing and those things. And eventually, where people are, donkeys get in the way. They get hit by cars and end up eating crops and in people's yards. And there's also only a certain amount the land will support. So whether you manage it for a burro population or you manage it for other use, they're not all compatible. But I think at least they have tried to make a patchwork of different uses in different areas, so we can keep burros and wild horses in some, and move them out of other areas.
It's just really interesting to see that in some countries, some areas, there's a lot of species that are going extinct.
Right.
And then there's in other areas where they're considered an invasive species. And I'm still trying to wrap my head around just like the morality
Mhm.
right? And the balance that lies between coexisting with
Mhm.
another species.
Yeah, and there's never going to be a solution everyone will be happy with.
Good answer. I know. And unfortunately, I feel like the burros are going to get the raw end of the stick.
Yeah, a lot of
You
times
know,
they do.
because they don't have, per se, they can't go vote and have
Yeah.
their voice and, you know, so.
Yeah.
And we need to remember they're really only there because cars and trucks got reliable and people abandoned them.
That's even more messed up. Yeah.
I always tell people when we have heard so many opinions about how the BLM is managing the animals. And at once, I was at an BLM auction where I gentled 4 animals and we had them for the auction, for the adoption auction. And a lady approaches me and says, well, I don't agree at all with what the BLM is doing and how they're doing it. I don't have anything to say. I don't have an opinion. And you are really only entitled to an opinion if you have a better alternative. Shooting them is not an alternative. Castrating them all and turning them back loose is also no alternative. And they tried to do birth control with the Jennies. That went south because it was supposed to last a year. And I think after 3 months, it was over. So something like that was the story. I would have to read it again. But the point is that it is not as simple as we think it is. And someone has to pay for it. That's the other thing. We all want it fixed, but nobody wants to pay for it. So as far as I am concerned, I would say they're doing what they can with what they have. And until we come up with a better idea and vote it in or vote it out, it's unfair to have an opinion. A lot of people say, oh yeah, the donkeys were here long before us, and I wasn't there. I am not informed well enough to know that, but that the donkeys are going to pay the bill for sure. Unfortunately, they are very prolific. You see that in the desert. Wherever you look, there's a couple of years, and they keep gathering and they keep coming back.
Yeah, and you'll see the situations where people feed burros all the time. Right? That's not sustainable either. It
And that is very
converts a wild animal into one that's not.
But it's not domestic either. It's
Yeah.
still a dangerous jackass.
Well,
If
it's just like feeding bears or something. They're
Yeah.
going to have conflicts with people, even if it's just traffic. And
Yeah, it's not a solution.
No. And
And they kind of use it as a tourist attraction
yeah,
as well. And then there's again, the moral line
yes.
is a bit gray.
I personally
Yes.
think it is very irresponsible. If you are at the Grand Canyon and feed a squirrel, or you are in Wyoming and feed a bear, or you are in the desert and feed a donkey, it is all wrong. If you leave wildlife, if you want it wild, leave it wild.
Yeah.
And if you want it domesticate it, but don't go halfway because it makes the animals confused and unhealthy. Mother Nature is still the most successful breeder. Natural selection is just perfect. But if we interfere feeding them, especially if we feed them things that they're not supposed to have in their diet.
people feed them loaves of bread and
Yeah.
alfalfa
Cubes or nuts, whatever, And carrots, they love carrots. Well, I love chocolate. I can't eat chocolate 3 times a day. I can, but I shouldn't. The same with carrots and donkeys.
An abundance of carrots in the desert.
No.
They're
No.
a great training tool, but after they're trained, they don't need it.
Yeah.
Yes.
One is good again for domesticated
Yes.
cats.
Right. But if they're wild, all you did was teach them to come to people in cars.
Yeah. Well, the other thing, going back to food and treats and feeding wrong things, a lot of donkeys, and that's part of what we're trying to educate people. We have it often when people come visit, can I bring carrots or can I bring them treats? And people are trying to be nice, we want to help, or support your cause by bringing treats. And we go, you better don't. You can give them love and you can give them pets and you can brush them. But love is not food, or food is not love. You don't need to feed them for existing other than their food. Treats is just like feeding a child ice cream because it got up in the morning. You can't do that. It's part of life and it should be.
And I've had to come here to understand that and learn that, because I have been, I've made that mistake many times, right?
We all do.
And I think it's just that also just a natural human instinct to want to connect and to want to give.
Yes.
Right.
And you don't know what they want or how, and you just don't know.
Yes.
Right? And so
Right.
that's where you guys educate people.
Yeah,
Right.
and the donkeys are actually they're a lot safer when you don't hand feed treats or don't let strangers hand feed, because they will approach a stranger with their mouth open.
And if you don't give it to them, then they can fight
and
and then show signs of aggression.
Yeah.
and it's just being insolent.
And then they get a bad reputation for
Yes.
being mean.
Yes.
Yeah, and you've seen our donkeys. You can walk out in the yard and you're immediately surrounded by donkeys without any treats. They
Yes.
just want to come and
They
get
love
their
ear
ears
They
rubbed.
scratches.
just want to hang out.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And they're all like, very safe.
Yes. I think we have enlightened a lot of people about that already. At least that's what we try. And also when we do things in Ridgecrest and we take the donkeys, a lot of people think that they can be dangerous. And of course we have waivers and of course we sign them. But honestly, the donkeys are probably one of the safest animals you can have out. Especially we bring the best ones to our events. If we bring our best. We have some that aren't socially correct with strangers.
But you've seen even a new donkey like Marcus. He could, in a few weeks, be going and doing things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes you hit the jackpot with a donkey.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why it's called jackpot, by the way. I don't know.
And
Just invented
I
that.
really love what California Breakfast Burrito does, as far as they won't just take in a bunch of donkeys and just to have them and then hope that they get adopted. They will first find the adopters,
With the wild ones, yes.
and then you bring them to choose their donkey.
Yes.
You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah,
I
well,
think that's also to help other sanctuaries or donkey places just maybe get a different angle of first finding the adopters versus getting the donkeys.
well, that was a thing. The Bureau of Land Management had a program with the Mustang Heritage Foundation called Training Incentive Program, short tip program, where there were tip trainers, and I was one of the certified ones. You get a donkey or a horse, you gentle it, and there were some requirements, minimum requirements to gentle the animal, and then you would find an adopter. And a lot of people would take 4 donkeys, train them, and then adopt them out. I always decided, unless it was for an auction organized by the BLM, I would first get an adopter who wanted a donkey and then pick the donkey at the corrals depending on what the person wanted to do with the donkey. So if you want a donkey to be a pet, you want the donkey that comes to you right away at the corrals, and to say an example. And then I would go get the donkey, gentle it, and constantly, and I still do that even though the tip program doesn't exist right now, I would constantly report to the adopter and tell them the progress of the animal, their personality, their superpowers. I call them superpowers if they're easy, or their difficulties.
Yeah.
Some are just they're not as outgoing. We have 2 right now. One is super outgoing and confident, and the other is just shy and insecure. And if someone wants to hit the trails with a donkey, I would definitely not give him the shy one, because it's already a failure or a lot more work. So yes, we used to always find the adopter first and then take the donkey.
Yeah.
And now that the program is over, oh, by the way, once the animal was gentled, the adopter would connect directly to the BLM and fill out the paperwork and do the whole thing.
Great, yeah.
And then I would go to the Mustang Heritage Foundation and get paid. But that program doesn't exist. So what we're doing right now, if someone approaches us wanting a donkey and we don't have the right animal for that person, we recover animals from other people. So if we have an animal that is the perfect match for someone, they can go straight to adoption through us. But if not, we take a BLM donkey and we'll the same pick with the adopter the donkey, take it here. The adopter comes visit if they want. We gentle the animal, and then
That's awesome.
they take it. And with the animals that we recover from whatever reason it happens that someone has a donkey and can't keep it anymore, we take the animal in, we evaluate, and usually they have to lose weight. We just have one now that needs to gain weight, but we put them back into the weight they should have. We evaluate their training, and if someone approaches us wanting an animal that does what this animal does, then we can adopt them out. But we also do, quite often, we give an animal away and it wasn't the perfect match. So we will take this animal back and give the adopter a different one, depending what we have.
And sometimes it's not that it's not a perfect match, and I think sometimes it's the owners maybe not understanding or realizing that this is what it's like to
Yes.
have a donkey. Right?
Yeah, but
maybe things change, or there's a divorce, or there's
Yeah.
Yes.
who knows.
We
right?
always take them back and
Yeah.
Yeah.
till we find them the right home.
But we've had a person adopting an animal from us and then saying, I can't click with her. So we get that animal back and I said, I have another one that has the personality is a little different and they're perfect.
Yeah.
So it can happen. And we all make mistakes and we all have personalities we're not happy with. And some donkeys don't behave the same way around certain people. So just like us, or a dog, I don't like this dog and someone else will love it. And the same with donkeys. So that is one of that we're very proud of being able to do this.
Yeah.
If someone, for whatever reason, and we don't care what the reasons are, because it's about the animal.
It's about the animal.
And about a perfect match. And if the person doesn't want the donkey anymore, that's fine too. We take him back.
Yeah.
And we reevaluate and we retrain, and we will do that 100 times if it's necessary. But we require, or we try to ask people, if you're not happy with the animal, don't rehome it. Because then they start bouncing all over the place. And when you see the animal 5 years later, it's in a poor condition or shy or back to wild or whatever. So we try to avoid
that.
Yes.
Yeah, and it seems like you guys are just like the perfect support system for
Yeah.
anybody who wants to adopt a donkey. And I think it's awesome that you guys give the owner just unlimited access to hundreds of donkeys as well. If they don't find the donkey here,
Yes.
there is a lot.
Yes.
And maybe they just need to experience different ones and just to know.
Yes.
Yes.
There's a lot of
So
people
I
who
think
want
that's-
mini donkeys, and we usually don't have mini donkeys. Sometimes we get a hold of one or two, but it's not that much.
Because there's not a lot of. Yeah, there's not a lot
No,
of
there's
wild mini
no
donkeys.
no mini donkeys, but there have been people who get them and need to rehome them,
Yeah.
and then we take them in, evaluate, put them on a diet, adopt them out. But if we don't have mini and someone wants a mini, we direct them or try to. It's not like, oh no, if you don't take a donkey from us, we can't talk.
Yeah.
No, it's about the animal,
Yeah.
you
And you guys do a ton of amazing community events as well.
We love that.
Yeah.
And we like to believe the donkeys love that too. When you open the trailer or John just hooks up the trailer to the truck, they line up. I'm going. No, I'm going. No, we're all going, They really like going places and having fun.
They like to do things and have a purpose,
Yeah, they want to feel useful.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So whether it's going for a hike or going to a parade or going to meet people, they really enjoy those things.
I like the story of how you took several donkeys, I think, to what was it? A an elderly's home.
Yeah.
Oh, the assisted living
Assisted
facility.
living
Yes.
facility, yes.
We did that repeatedly. I think
What was the story of the donkey? What was her? Was it
Bracy.
Was it Bracy that went into every?
Oh no,
Oh
that's
no, that's
Thelma.
Thelma. Yeah, she's just curious and she just goes door to door to door. It's like,
She
okay, I
wants
know
to
you.
see everybody,
I love
but
that.
she doesn't want to hang out with them for a long
No,
time.
she's not interested in really the whole therapy thing or being nice to people. She's just curious and goes like, no food, no friends. And then next,
She makes her rounds.
yes, yes. Oh no, we have a nice story about. You can tell the story about Bracy at the.
Oh yeah, and some of those are really touching visits too. We have other donkeys who are very, very calm and would stand there for hours to be petted. So one of them, Bracelet, is one we could take, more inside the facility. And one day we went to the memory care one with, people who have Alzheimer's and other things, and they have all various levels of engagement. Some of them won't talk or confused, can't engage. And there was an elderly guy just sitting there, and the nurses kind of said not to bother with him, but I took Bracelet over anyway, and he started petting her, and then started talking all about the horses he'd had. He used to raise Clydesdales, and it's just one of those things people really, especially the older people in our community, all grew up with animals, so we get lots of connection through the donkeys. And to have that guy start talking and being engaged when they thought, all he ever does is sit there all day, was really amazing. To have him be touched by the donkey.
Just needed a reason to engage.
Yes.
Donkey gave him that.
We always say donkeys. We have a shirt that says there's magic in those long ears, and I really believe there is something about it that makes. I mean, I haven't met anyone who doesn't smile when they hear a bray of a donkey.
Yeah.
That's just their mission. They just make people smile, and they love happy people.
Mm-hmm.
But also that story with Bracy, how sensitive she was to stay there and inspiring this guy, or I don't know, it's not inspiring, but creating this connection for this person who wasn't reacting to almost anything anymore, if anything, and then started even talking about it and really being there. There's got to be magic in those animals,
Go Bracy.
No,
Yeah.
oh,
Go
she's a wonderful
Yeah,
donkey.
that's a
She gets in
beautiful story.
trouble, but she gets. Oh yeah, she does.
Karin says that every donkey has their tricks.
Yes, Bracelet's trick. Well, I don't know. I didn't tell you the story why her name is Bracelet.
I don't think
Well, she was wild in the desert in Arizona, and somehow got in trouble and put her foot in a pipe.
Okay.
She was a young donkey, and she made it to someone's backyard, and she was walking around with a pipe stuck in her foot, in her front foot. And so the owners of that property called the BLM and said, well, there's a hurt donkey here you need to come get. And they were gathering in that area, so they gathered her too. And every time the wrangler needed to go work, of course they cut the pipe and took it off, and it was all damaged underneath. And every time the wrangler needed to go clean the wounds and work, I'm going to work with the donkey with a bracelet. So the name kind of got stuck.
Bracelet.
And now we call her Bracy, which is Bray and a C, like vitamin C, it's Bracy. But that was the first time. And then we had 8 donkeys here. And the only one that got in trouble to get something in her legs, and in one cut, she developed an infection, and all 4 legs up to the chest were swollen, and then the skin fell off her legs. It was just horrible to watch, but it had to happen to Bracy because the only one who does things like that is her. Just all the others, I don't know. She's just, she's a poor soul, but but that after the BLM case, of course, when the BLM has to work with one donkey that is wild, you can't pet it. You can't put a halter on it. You put it in a squeeze, you flip it, you work with it and put it back up. You know, they can't do differently. So once we had her gentled, that was another story, and her skin fell off. John had to wash her 4 legs twice a day and put on ointment. And we couldn't find a vet for 2 weeks to come down. And finally, when the vet came and saw her, he said, okay, you're on your own. This donkey's not going to come out of that one.
Well, he didn't think I'd be able to give her the care every day,
but that
she let me do it.
And because they appreciate it. But my point is that that donkey, all that handling twice a day, made her so safe and so mellow. Whenever we need to teach anyone how to pick donkey feet, it's always Bracy. Because she's safe. She's very kind and soft, and she's the one who goes to almost any social event because she's...
And good for you for proving them wrong.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
Yes.
she's completely recovered. And
Yes. It was a long, I think 9 or 10 months.
till it all healed.
Yeah, it was scary.
And you've had others that appreciate the care even after a day.
Oh, Dante.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a BLM donkey too. I was gentling again for the auction at Bishop Mule Days, and I had 2 donkeys or 3 donkeys, I don't know, and one of the tip trainers that had committed to getting donkeys for the auction, for whatever reason, adopted the animals out. And BLM calls me like in a panic mode. We need to gentle 4 more donkeys. You have 10 days. And I go, there's no way I can do that. And they said, well, you have to. And I said, well, okay. So I'll try. You know, John was at this point, he wasn't even working with me with the donkeys. He was employed. So I took those 4 donkeys in, and one of them was 8 years old, wild, and he came with a bad eye infection. And well, that's not good. And you can't work with an animal in pain. Plus, it was gross to see, and it was just, I can't do that. So I called the BLM and I said, what do we do? Well, you need to put on ointment in their eyes. Yeah, good luck with that one. He's wild, and I don't have the ointment. Well, I have some if you want to pick it up. So I got a little leftover that they had for whatever.
Leftover tube.
And I brought it here, and this was the first day the donkey was here. The next morning, I had ointment in his eyes. And I mean, it's a wild animal, and your eyes are what will make you see a predator. So you don't want to, for them, it's very important to be able to see.
Yeah.
And nothing around the eyes is easy.
It's a lot of trust.
I didn't have time for him to trust me.
Yeah.
See, I don't know, he must have sensed it. I don't know, but I had ointment in his eye, and that donkey was the best one at the auction because of that. They appreciate, once he understood, oh my God, my eye feels better, he would come up to the fence. I couldn't pick his feet. I couldn't put on a halter, but I could put ointment in his eyes. Yeah. And in 10 days, by the way, I got it done. I got the tip training.
He went to someone who wanted to pack with a donkey, and we heard later he worked out really well.
Yes.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. I love all your donkeys' names. Do you want to share a little bit some of your donkeys, just like the names? I've heard like some really funny. I mean, all donkey names are pretty unique.
Yes.
But like there's Chili Bean Burrito.
He came with that name.
Okay.
So Chili Bean Burrito is a famous donkey in California. Okay. He has been to Bishop Mule Days a lot of times with the Wildest Women, which is a group of cool ladies who do things with their donkeys. And he already came with that name. He was 16 years with this lady, and she needed to rehome him and wanted a good home. And we thought, oh yeah, we will take him in and rehome him. Well, he kind of stayed. He's a cool donkey. He's super cool. He's a goof, and we like that. He's potentially a goof.
What are the minis?
Uh,
I like so Karin has the first name, the middle name, and the last name for every donkey, right?
well, some have three names, some have
Some
just
have three
two
names.
or one name.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you mind sharing?
Okay.
To me, that just it warms my heart when I see the names.
So the minis are Rita Burrito Chaparrita. Well, I'll say it how it should be. Rita Burrita Chaparrita,
Okay.
which is little short burrito,
Okay.
which is it's a mini. The others, Mamacita. Mamacita came with the name Mamacita, and I added chula to it, which means cute. Then there's Telma Clementina Einstein. I had, when I got my mule in El Salvador, I wanted to call her Telma or Doña Telma. And we were at barn where the neighbor was Doña Telma. And they told me, you can't do that. You can't call your mule Telma because you need to respect this lady, which in my opinion is not a disrespect. It's just a name, but I respected that. So I called my mule Juana. But when we got our first donkey, I said, this is going to be Telma. And one day she was doing something silly out there. And I said, Telma Clementina, venga para acá, come here. And she responded, so Telma Clementina. And then when we started doing things with her, she would outsmart us a lot. It was our first donkey, so that's how the Einstein came, because she's very smart. Then Bracy, well, Bracelet, but she needed a middle name, so it's Bracelet Margarita.
Okay.
And Astrid with double S, John named her. And I said, well, you can't just call her Astrid, so she's Astrid Guadalupe.
Okay.
Then Tita. Tita is because of the character in like Water for Chocolate, a very sensitive cook. Tita is not a cook, but it's a sensitive animal. And because of the middle name, it's Tita Maria. And when I got Tita from the BLM, she came with her daughter, who is Lola. So we would call them the Marias. So it's Tita Maria and Lola Maria. So yeah. Then who else is? Oh, Mocha Lucia. Yeah, well, there's Lucy. You know, Lucy.
Yeah, I know.
We had from her same herd, I gentled one called Mocha, and it was Mocha Maria. Yes, it was Mocha Maria. And she was a goof. She came with a bullet hole in her ear. She was a cool donkey. She came out of the trailer, straight went up to the horse and said hi, sniffed his butt. And donkeys usually don't do that. They're not that confident with horses. But she was just a pretty, fuzzy, friendly, funny donkey. And I said, well, that Mocha name is good. So then we got another one with the same color from the same herd. And that was another Mocha, Mocha too. And when we got Lucy, she was a cute little baby from the same herd. And I said, Mocha worked out well. So Mocha Lucia. And then I would just call her Lucy. And so that's the other name, Mocha Lucia. And who else do we have out there? Julie doesn't have another name. Julie.
We didn't name her.
We didn't name her. She came with her name.
Okay.
And the adopter kept the name. So she doesn't have no middle name.
Kenny and Rogers.
Oh, yeah, we have. We try to give our animals, I believe in the energy of names. So when we get a new animal that can potentially kill you, we try to mild the whole situation, but giving them mild names. So these two we got last from the BLM is Kenny and Rogers, which it could also be, and sometimes depending on conditions, I say Kenny and Mr. Rogers. Because Mr. Rogers is just quite a character. So, and with Marcus, he was already adopted. With the other two I had, they asked me I can name them, so I did. But Marcus, he was adopted first, and then he came here, and I said to the owner, so I would like to know his name, so we can train him with a name. So his name is Marcus Aurelius, but with ASS at the end, so it's Marcus Aurelius. Well, if you look it up, it was a pretty good, interesting person,
Yeah.
Marcus Aurelius. And evidently the name is working.
The name is working.
It's working
great.
out great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's so adorable.
Yes. So when we have to name them, it's a different story. When they come with a name, we try to not change it. Yes. Well, mostly because they know their names. They hear it.
Yeah.
So you can add a middle name to it and then move to the other name, but it should be a process. But usually people name the donkeys. We like the names they come with.
Yeah.
Like Chili Bean Burrito. I mean, it's, and if you look at the initials, it's Chili Bean Burrito, CBB, California Breakfast Burritos. It just
Perfect.
perfect. So we decided, why would you change it? You know? So he's short CBB
CBB.
or just Chili. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I love your logo.
Well,
Local to California.
well, that happened because there's more donkeys in California than grizzly bears. So we thought it was fair to change it.
Change it.
It's not a disrespect to the flag because they're actually a thing.
It's actually a thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And tell me, who is this donkey here with us with this beautiful bee on his ear?
Well, the local high school mascot is the burro. Well, they're the burros. So he has
It's
a
called Burros
BHS on
High.
the back.
That's awesome.
A friend gave him to us. You know, she found him at a garage sale, and obviously hand knitted and some project someone made.
You can pull them out.
You can pull him out.
So when you adopt a BLM donkey, you used to get a t-shirt or a stuffed animal or some kind of souvenir for adopting. And that was, I don't remember for whom we got it, but that's a BLM donkey.
This little bandana
His
says,
bandana says,
"Adopt a wild
yeah,
burro."
it says wild horse and burro program. So Burro is riding in the saddle and his sidekick is behind him. We have a lot of burros in the house.
Well, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.